let's go over to the most important heavyweight story of the month. Raven and Larry Zbyszko.
What a joy. We are finally back to the days. We're back to the days of Eric Watts and Don Callis.
With old men
Real
wrestling when they shouldn't.
pro wrestling.
We go back to the Jim Cornette company meeting. He addresses Larry Zbyszko. He's like, I can't fire you, Larry, without having to pay out your contract, and I don't want to do that. But if you breach your contract in any way, you can be fired. And I looked over your contract, and your contract allows me to book you in wrestling matches.
I could have told you that because of the AJ Styles stuff.
Yeah, you've seen Larry's wrestling matches. You remember that weird Jarrett and Elite Guard and Shamrock versus Larry Zbyszko and 3 Live Crew and Dusty guitar on a pole match? Everyone remembers that. Everyone loved that.
Of course I do.
So Jim understands that Larry's been having some issues with Raven. And Larry is sensitive about his hair. Because for months and months they've been doing shots at Larry's hair because he's getting his hair redone. So every time Bald Man Slick Johnson walks into the room, he's like, Larry, you're looking a little short up top.
It's funny because like now in pro wrestling and with how like prevalent like hair like replacement surgery is now, like everywhere. It's like, I feel like it's not even a thing people are like embarrassed about anymore.
Because you would think, I think like, didn't Kyle take a shot at MJF on it on Twitter? But I don't think anybody has mentioned like MJF's hair restoration on TV.
Yeah, which like A, is that like insecurities, or is that like B, like it's just everyone does it now?
We've accepted vanity as part of the culture as opposed to here where we're like, how dare you be vain enough to cling to your hair?
It's like, you know, $3,000, you get a trip to Turkey and you bing bang boom, you're back.
Yeah, back in the glory days, baby.
It's crazy.
So he books hair versus hair, Raven versus Larry at the pay-per-view.
Yeah, like, I'll leave my thoughts until the actual match, I feel, because it's about the whole thing.
Raven was scheduled to do an angle at Slammiversary, but he was hospitalized that day and couldn't attend. He recovered enough to be at TV the next day, though. August 6th Impact, Larry Z shouts at Slick Johnson. Slick tells Larry he'll look great bald. In fact, he is going to do some mock-ups to show Larry. So he comes out later in the show and hands out photoshops of Larry bald. Eric Young is like, I need help, I'm going to be fired. And Slick is like, if you hand these out, I'll help you because I'm in with Jim Cornette. And he was like, oh, Jim Cornette, he's powerful. Team Canada comes out like, what the hell, why are you helping this dude? That's stupid.
I mean, and some just amazing photoshopping done here.
Truly like cutting edge, top of the line 2006 Photoshop going on.
Yeah, this is what you want.
I wondered, like, did they think that looked good, or did they deliberately like to be like, let's make it a little shit because it's funnier that way?
I think they thought it looked good.
That's like the best 2006 technology could do in TNA's hands, at least.
That's the best Jeremy Borash could bust out. On 0 hours sleep.
Yeah. July 13th Impact, we had a feature on Larry versus Raven and hair versus hair. They called back, of course, the Raven scalping at the hands of James Mitchell. This is not his first hair match in TNA.
It went really well for him last time.
Yeah, he won. Well, I was going to say he has a tougher opponent, but last time it was Shane Douglas. So it does. I think he might have a tougher opponent this time as opposed to last time.
Yeah.
Larry starts chasing Slick around, tearing up the photos as he hands them out. As we go to the pay-per-view, JB has Larry. Larry tells JB to shut up. He's in the best condition of his life, and Raven is finally going to have to pay the piper for all he has done to Larry Zbyszko. Slick Johnson then walks up, and Larry says the sensational quote, "Oh, what do you want, you stupid stooge?" I love Larry. I'll miss Larry.
I like that, like, the whole feud has been built around being, like, afraid of Raven, and now he's like, I'm ready to fight it. You've been running from me this whole time. You're finally gonna have to fight me.
Yeah, Larry. He's so good. I love him. Slick will be the referee for the match, and he will call it right down the middle, and then does a pose where he, like, shaves his head down the middle.
Yeah, insinuating that perhaps he won't call it right down the middle.
Raven defeats Larry Zbyszko in hair versus hair.
So, like, this feud has been going on for fucking ever.
Literal year.
A literal year. Like, on and off, because, like, Raven isn't allowed to show up for more than one TV in a pay-per-view cycle for some reason. Absolutely fucking dead in the water. This feud is, by the time they get to the blow-off. Not a single person in this crowd gives a fuck or a shit about this.
I wonder if the crowd is a little bit like us and actually kind of likes Larry.
I think that might be part of it. Part of it is Raven's never around and also isn't hot anymore. And, like, I think part of it is just, like, half of them probably have forgotten this shit happened. Let's be real. It is, like, so start and stop, hot and cold. Like, you would have thought they could have... Like, I would forgive anyone who thought that they already did the blow-off to this.
Because you would think, as you said, like the match isn't hot, but that's fine. It's a Raven Larry Zbyszko match. I don't expect it to be hot. But you would at least expect the crowd to be into somebody having their head shaved. And they give that enough time that they expected the crowd to be into it. It's not like a few quick whizzes through with the razor and they cut to the back. They stay on the head shave for like 10 minutes. So like they expected that to be this real like cathartic moment where the crowd are into Larry getting his comeuppance, and they're not. They just kind of sit there. They're not into it at all. And like the announcers are laughing and Slick Johnson is laughing, and it's like the crowd are just there. They don't care. They don't care about Larry getting his head shaved, and it's really weird. I guess it's not weird, as you said. It makes a lot of sense.
It's not weird. It's completely understandable. It's just like it's disappointing, I guess. And like the match was still fun. They grappled.
They had a wrestling match, which is really funny.
They didn't even really like brawl that much. They just sort of wrestled.
Yeah, Larry once again does the TNA kick. The innovator. The man behind it. The man that Chris Sabin and Alex Shelley and all those people that used it a lot more learned. We learned that in the AJ matches. The innovator of the TNA kick, and he does it again. I popped huge for it. You can go back and listen to the watch along. He does the TNA kick. I'm very happy.
The X Division icon, Larry Zbyszko.
Yeah. So like TNA ties this back to controversy in Canada, but it actually goes back further than that. If you remember like the build up to Slammiversary where Raven won the belt, he's being like held out of that match until Jarrett does some bullshit. And Jarrett's that weekend, and then Raven gets in and wins. So like this match goes all the way back to Slammiversary last year. That's where we started doing like the Raven and Larry stuff. And somehow here we are over a year later, 13 months later, and no one gives a fuck about the blow off. So they spent a year trying to tell this story, and they did not stick the landing or the middle or arguably the start.
But it certainly happened, and we can give them that forever.
Sure did. So Slick gets bumped. Larry hits a low blow, but Raven kicks out. Larry goes after Slick. Actually, the match starts with Slick tripping Larry, which is rude. How can Jim Cornette stand for that, by the way? The referee is blatantly partial to one of the competitors.
Yeah, Slick should get fired next.
This honestly, something so egregious didn't happen under Larry Zbyszko's stewardship.
Exactly.
So yeah, Raven back for the win. Larry tries to run, but security brings him back out. Raven duct tapes Larry to the chair. Raven chafes his head. Larry fires security as Raven chafes his chest. Larry be like, "You're fired. You're fired." It's very funny. Don gets in on the action, doing a little bit of shaving. Slick then shows Larry his reflection in the mirror, but Larry kicks him in the balls. Which the announcers totally missed, by the way. They missed that Larry kicked him on the balls while he went to show him his reflection in the mirror. So they're like, why the fuck is Slick Johnson on the floor? The announcers have no idea why Slick Johnson is like writhing in pain.
That just proves that he's really good at what he does.
He does get back up to do some shaving himself. Even before losing the hair match, the medical hair restoration company was advertising Larry Zbyszko as one of its clients. Larry is getting hair plugs put in shortly. The same group treated Wade Boggs, a baseball superstar who is friends with many Florida-based wrestlers, as well as Jimmy Hart more than 6 months ago. Why does he... Okay. Oh, that's when he got his hair done, I assume, as opposed to the time period in which he was friends with Wade Boggs, as the sentence seems to suggest. And is soon to be doing similar surgeries for Chavo Guerrero Sr. and Jr. So Larry is a poster boy for this new hair restoration clinic.
How is Chavo's hair holding up?
I think he's bald now, so...
I'm going to go to his AEW look. I'm going to give him some credit. Like a year or two ago now. Bald as a motherfucker.
The hair restoration did not go as well as he'd hoped.
What does Chavo Guerrero think about AEW? I'm going to read this article real quick.
I hope it's a very practical, pragmatic approach and not the usual old man wrestler thing.
Chavo Guerrero Jr. thinks AEW needs more micromanagement.
No, it doesn't. It has way too much.
In WWE, the producers, the agents, they get really involved in your managers. In AEW, they kind of let you do your own thing.
All right. I guess a man who does producing would probably say wrestling needs more producers, to be fair. Wrestling needs to give me a job more, is effectively what Chavo Guerrero is saying right there.
Yeah. What a weird, brief run. We'll see you in a few years, Chavo.
And freaking 4 different companies that we cover. Though I think he's done with Lucha Underground. We might be free of him there.
Yeah.